Hello, my gorgeous makeup loving friends. I feel like I might be dead because I've done so much traveling this week, but we are still doing a Swatching Sundays. That's right, I'm not totally useless. It's very exciting for me and for my family to learn that about myself. Do I have a new palette? It's the Roxa palette. I'm hoping I've pronounced that correctly. We'll see. It's the Roxa palette by Natasha Denona. And yeah, I bought it when it was like early release or whatever on Natasha's own website. But in true Natasha Denona fashion, it took a frightening amount of time to actually get here. I don't know what the story is. I don't know if there's carrier pigeons involved, but it arrived in one piece and it does look very pretty. If you've watched Swatching Sundays before, you'll know that there's a general format to this. Essentially, I swatched the whole palette out on unprimed skin. I know, it is what it is. It's just because there's lots of different primers you could use, and that in and of itself is going to impact things. But the main thing is to actually show it under lots of different lighting so you can make some more informed decisions around this. Now, this is a limited edition palette, so I was kind of like, let's kind of do some swatches on this before it's old news, but Lord knows. The makeup world moves so fast that old is new and new is old, and I can't keep up with the whole thing. Anyways, that's what today's video is all about. Do keep in mind, because let's always be very honest about this, that I am an affiliate with Natasha Denona. I have a code, it'll get you some money off and I'll earn a commission. That being said, you are clever. You know that you are. You can look at these swatches. You don't need me talking over it. Hell, you can put me on mute. And that should give you at least some information as to what you think of this and whether this is going to be a good palette for you. So if you want to see these swatches across lots of different lighting conditions, then do please keep on watching. Is this a new palette? Yes and no. Yes, in the sense that I personally feel it's new. However, in the weird makeup realm that we live in, this is almost like old news, which is terrifying in and of itself. But this is the Natasha Denona limited edition Roxa palette, or Roxa. I'm going to try and roll my R's. I had very stupidly been mispronouncing it as Roxa, and a lovely subscriber did tell me that it's Portuguese, so I'm hoping I did actually look up the pronunciation and I'm hoping I haven't butchered it. But you know the general drill. I've got my little swatching stencils on. I've got the palette here. At the moment, we have one ring light. It's at a 90-degree angle, so we have a good amount of light here. I've blocked out all external sources of light, and I have two box lights on. So let's get into swatching. These are the first four shades, and as you can probably tell, I don't have a tendency to dig into the pan too much because, I mean, who's using their eyeshadow like that? Now, if you had been watching Natasha's own Instagram, some of these shades, the way that she was swatching them, they went on for 5 years. You know, she started the swatch, somebody got married, they had children, they had a very happy lifetime together. Like, it went on for quite some time. I'm afraid I don't do swatches like that. They're very localized, shall we say. So we have the shade Dixie. That seems to be quite like a toppery shade. Jacaranda, quite a cool toned purple. This isn't as purple a palette as I thought it was going to be. Then we have Flutter, again much more of like a toppery shade, and Phoebe. Just in terms of initial feelings, the mattes, extremely smooth. Really nice. I can already feel it has this sort of a quality where it's going to be very buildable. Now, you know the story if you've watched me before. I'm going to build these up to full opacity just so we can get the best idea of them. Now, I've personally been very interested in seeing what this shade looks like because it's one of the marble shades that actually has like a green in it, which is quite unusual. I just thought that was quite strange. Now, I will say those first two shades that I swatched, they are definitely more toppers than anything else. We have the shade Regal, Eclipse, oh that's nice, Stargirl, because I think that was one of the ones that was like a really big deal at one point, and Pole. That feels a little bit too fresh for us after the elections, but there you go. I mean, that looks quite nice. I know that this is going to sound a little bit weird, but for me, my favourite formula in Natasha Denona is actually the mattes. I get excited about her mattes. They're so smooth. They blend when you look at them. It's very frustrating. So we have Heather, Cerise, Sweet Pea, and Concord. Now, I don't put any sort of a primer on simply because there's lots of different primers that you can use. You could use a white-based primer, a black-based primer, flesh toned primer, clear toned primer, and all of those would actually impact the way that these look. So I've tried to kind of avoid that by not having primers, but that will also impact things. So again, take what I'm doing here with a pinch of salt. And now we have our last 3 shades. We have Velour, Brink, and Orchid. And that's it, the whole thing is swatched. I will say, just upon first notice, these 2 shades, so that's Sweet Pea and that's Velour, they look quite similar, at least on me. Again, like even my undertones are going to impact the way that these look. I'm quite cool toned leaning. So do, again, keep that in mind. But now we have the reveal. Let's see how messy I got this to be. Oh, well, that is satisfying. It's actually quite neat. So this is what it looks like. Again, as a quick reminder, I have a ring light at a 90-degree angle, 2 box lights, all external lights have been blocked out. I don't have an overhead light on. This is what it looks like. Now, does this look, in my opinion, like something that is like wildly interesting? No, not really. Like, I mean, it's fine. That being said though, I'm a Natasha Denona super fan. Like, it is a little bit unhealthy. If you guys know, I am also an affiliate. I have a code, it gets you money off, blah, blah, blah. However, I did buy this palette through Natasha's own website and oh my God, I was waiting for an eternity on this. So even though you could use my code to save money and I'd get like a commission from it, if you're wanting this urgently, I would recommend other retailers, but I'll have links down below if anyone is interested. Now, let's have a little look at these shimmers. Are these hopping out at you right now in this particular lighting? No, they're not, but that's because we have quite a bit of lighting happening at the moment. And when I add in more lighting, it's only going to drown it out even further. As you might have seen with my Patrick Ta video, the low level of lighting is part of what really makes shimmers, anything with those sort of glittery particles, really come to light. And it's going to take a very special shimmer to be something that is noticeable even in this kind of lighting. So I'm going to now put on overhead lighting. So we're going to wash things out, basically ColourPop style, and see what that looks like. So as I said, I now have an overhead light and that is washing it out further. So what little bit of sparkle you probably were able to see before, it isn't really there. Now, good news is most people don't live their lives like this, particularly if you're like me and you're quite photosensitive. Yeah, you're not going to be in bright lights like that. What I do want to kind of point out is that the mattes, pretty pigmented, but they blend really, really nicely. Now, I'm personally quite miffed that this is limited edition. I don't think it should have been limited edition. That's just me, because this is meant to kind of be sort of like a love note to her Lila palette, but obviously with updated formulas. And I think this is really pretty. Now, I personally feel it leans a little bit more pink than it does purple, and I would love to see a true purple palette from her. But that's just me. Now, we're going to start to decrease the amount of lights next just to start to see some of the sparkle. So now I just have the ring light on. The box lights are off, the overhead light is off, and you can, I think, at least from my perspective, see the shimmers a little bit more. Now, they're still very subtle, yeah? Like, they're not like really jumping out at you in that sense. Or maybe it's just me, I don't feel like they jump out at me now. I personally quite like this for certain looks, you know, but if you're into the big glittery, sparkly chaos of it all, this probably isn't for you. I'd recommend some nice singles, but it looks nice. It does. Now I'm trying to angle my arm. This is where I realise I'm not as limber as I might like to be, but I'm not going to do anything about it. It is what it is. And I'm also going to say right now, I love bringing you outside, but I'm in the west of Ireland and it is obviously not sunny. So we will get some natural light, but it won't be like sunlight. And I feel like I apologise for that in every video. So I'm not going to apologise this time. Deal with it. This is my reality. That's right, it's completely dark. Do you see how I've darkened out the room completely? This lets you know that I've tried to get rid of any contaminants of light. Now I do have one source of light. It's coming from the torch on my phone. And I think, you know, that shade just, I mean, what am I trying to say? That shade Pole or Ball? Ball, it's Ball. That was the one that was the weird marbled shade. Yeah, I can't read apparently. That's a really great trait for me to have, isn't it? That one is really interesting. This is where we're starting to see it both metaphorically and literally shine. That is nice. Now, obviously, I am shooting this on a Canon EOS. Well, that's not obvious, but I'm using a general filming camera. That gives you a very specific sort of a perspective on this. The type of cameras that you use are always going to impact kind of the way that these are perceived. And I'm trying to change around the lighting so that we can get kind of different orientations on this. And I'm a little bit frustrated, I will say, because I feel like that shade Ball, that's the word, is like really, really interesting. Ooh, if that came in a single, if anyone can get to a place and swatch it for themselves, I need you to, because it's like, it is actually very, very interesting. I'm hoping that I can see it's not really picking up on the camera, which is frustrating. No, camera can't even focus. But I'm hoping that maybe once I capture it on the phone, it might get it a little bit better. But sometimes it can just be awkward trying to get these. But I have tried my best. I swear I have. But yeah, I'm going to show you now what this looks like on my phone. So this is the palette now swatched, and you can see it on the phone. Again, that shade, the fourth one down, which is Ball, that's not really how it looks in reality. This is what I'm saying, like, I'd love it if you can get yourselves to an Ulta, to a Sephora, I think, is it Selfridges, do Natasha Denona, etc. Because that shade, oh, you can kind of see it when I zoom in here and do the weird, you know, now you can see some of the glittery particles here. That's quite interesting, and you can kind of see it there. Now, it is very difficult to kind of capture, which is one of the issues with more shimmery shades. But you can see even the level of pigmentation on the mattes. And that's saying something. There's no primer or anything on those. Again, keep that in mind with even the shimmers. There's no glitter primer on any of those. Okay, I'm feeling a little bit better that the shade Ball can kind of be seen, because I'm a little bit obsessed with that. I'm like just imagining things like, can you imagine like a black smoky eye and put that on the inner corner and smoke it out? Oh, beautiful. And actually, I have a really nice kind of like a gel, liquidy, creamy sort of a pigment from KVD, and it's gorgeous, and I feel like it'd go really well with that. I wore it the other day actually to graduation. But yeah, I think this looks very, very pretty. But obviously we have to try it out in a few other little lighting settings just to see what the story is here. I've brought some light back into the room, so there's a little bit of natural light, but I'm not directly in front of it. This is what my camera is picking up on my phone. As you can see, this is pretty standard, right? This is probably how it's going to look on your eye when you have it, at least to some degree. Maybe if you use like a glitter primer, it might come up a little bit better. But yeah, it's fine. Like, does it wow me? No, but I'm going to enjoy this because I'm a weirdo. But look at that. That shade is really interesting. I would have liked to have seen more kind of cool tones in this, because she has gone very warm
with her purples in this. Again, it's coming out as more like a fuchsia than necessarily a purple. And she's done like 5 million neutral palettes. It was just fun to see her do something colourful again. So I'm hoping she kind of does at least one colourful palette a year. Maybe that's just me being very, very greedy. I'm also hoping that she might do like a 5-pan Roja. Not necessarily, or Rocha, sorry. I do hope she might do a 5-pan, not necessarily of specific shades from this, but maybe shades that are inspired by this. Again, maybe leaning a little bit more cool to kind of link in with some of those shades there on the right hand side. Now I do feel like those two shades there, Sweet Pea and Velour, they look quite similar. I'm not saying they're exactly duping each other, but maybe there needed to be a little bit more distinction between them. In true glamour, as per usual, I am now standing at the window in semi-direct sunlight. Well, it's not really sunlight. Again, west of Ireland, we don't know what the sun is like. I have heard tell about this glowing yellow ball in the light, or in the sky. But yeah, I don't know what it actually looks like. Now, this is giving you some indication as to what it's going to look like through most of the day if you're in indirect sunlight. It's pretty. It is. Like, you can see, it looks very, very nice. It's up to you as to whether or not you feel that it is worth the money for yourself. I'm not going to tell you whether it is or not, because these things are super, super subjective, and it depends on essentially what you're valuing. Do you want like a very, very glittery sort of a shimmer? Now, I like these sort of shimmers because I find I've kind of hooded eyelids, not super hooded, but they're kind of creasy and crepey. And there's certain shimmers that they just accentuate that. And I find that these don't. So I personally appreciate that. I also like the fact that the mattes take no time to blend. And I'm a busy person, you know, and I'm sure you are too. But again, it depends as to, some people love spending forever blending. It's part of like their self-care. So this may or may not be worth it to you, depending on these things. Now, coming back to the sort of formulas, they're all very, very smooth, right? And a lot of those ones, particularly at the top, they're more toppery. So keep that in mind. They look a particular way in the pan, but they're going to look a little bit different. Now, I'd love to see what sort of an impact they'd have on the matte. They're probably more like transformational tones, but keep that in mind. So we are outside in natural light, and I do look like I'm dead. Like, what is up with that? I have messed with the colour contrast on this I don't know how many times, and it doesn't seem to make me any less ghostly. I promise I'm not actually that ghostly. This is again the importance of showing these things across several cameras. But even in this really rubbish Irish external light, where we have no sun, only concepts of sun, you can see you don't really see the shimmers that much, right? They're not much to talk about, right? And again, I say that as a Natasha Denona stan. I will say those first couple of shades, at least for me, because there's quite a clear base on these could be quite nice kind of like highlighters for me, or like blushy toned highlighters, because there's two shades there that they have a little bit of a pinky sheen. See the one at the top? Can't even see it. And yes, that was a donkey in the distance. Yeah, I'm going to show this now on my camera phone, because I think, again, it's going to give a little bit more context. And again, you can see here, I promise I'm not that pale. And yes, I could wait for the cattle to stop mooing, but it's the countryside. That isn't going to happen. So we can see here, it looks a little bit different. Yeah, we can see some of the shades a little bit better. That first shade, that's like perfect as a highlighter for me. There's no real cast. I know it's not meant to be a highlighter, but I can use these shades in whatever way I feel like, and so can you. Get bang for your buck. That shade, Ball, it looks so spectacular under certain lighting, and then in others you're like, oh. But it is quite interesting to me. Again, hoping that's giving a little bit more context. Jesus Christ, it's like Animal Farm here. Just, there's been a donkey, there have been cows, there have been dogs. I'm actually surprised none of the cats have made it out. But it is a little bit nippy today, so they're like, no, we shall stay inside. Oh, there's a bird. Perfect. Perfect. Enjoy. But yeah, that's the entire Roxa palette. Roxa. I'm hoping I pronounced it correctly. And I hope this gives you a little bit more context for what it looks like, particularly on pasty Irish skin.
And that is it. That is the whole palette swatched. I do feel like I was quite surprised by these shades up here for being quite sheer. I did not expect that. I know I never take the plasticky thing off that because I'm essentially blind and those mirrors don't work for me. I need to have a mirror up here for when I'm doing makeup. It's very exciting. I was really surprised by this shade. It was the shade Bolf. Every single time I'm reading that, it's a new word. Is it just changing? I don't even know. Who knows? That was weirdly interesting to me. Mattes are beautiful, very smooth. I don't want to call them buttery because I just don't want to compare makeup to food items, you know, unless maybe we start kind of being like, ooh, it feels like Nutella. Nutella, delicious. This one feels like crushed bananas. Who knows? Anyways, I feel like the formula feels really, really nice. You can see even in the swatches, they're very, very buildable. I can already feel, you know, like when you kind of swatch things, you have a feeling as to how this is going to work out. Is it going to blend pretty well? I also will say that this is very similar to their more recent formulas in terms of their mattes. So if you liked their recent formulas in terms of their, I need a warm, I need a bronze, I need a whatever. What do we need, Natasha? Tell me. Very, very similar matte formula. So if you've gotten on well with that in the past, you'll get on pretty well with these. A lot of these are more toppery in nature, so keep that in mind. Personally, this is my kind of jam. I kind of do hope she comes out though with a more blue toned leaning palette because this is very kind of reddishy pink. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with it at all. But you know, there's definitely a little bit of a market out there for that in my opinion. But my gorgeous friends, that's it. Low effort video, high stakes, who knows? Anyways, it is what it is. Let me know what you guys think. Probably quite a few of you have this at this point, and I would love to know down below what you guys think of it because, you know, people could be thinking about whether or not they want this. This literally only arrived for me a few days ago. That's how bad their post is. Like, do not buy through them. Who said the worst affiliate ever? I don't know why I'm doing that. That's terrifying. Oh, anyways, if you have this and you've had some time to test it, could you put something down in the comments? Let other people know what your experiences are with it because I'm all about making some informed decisions over here. But my gorgeous friends, that is it. Thank you so much for watching. Do please like, comment and subscribe. Turn on that notification bell because it is polite, and do please share because sharing is caring, except of course for STDs, in which case just wrap it up. Don't be gross. But that's it. That's the end of this video. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.